einen wunderschönen guten
Good
Nachmittag.
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to the last presentation of the trade show. Again, we're going to cover sustainability. My name is Dr. Stephan Telschow. I'm a market researcher, and I work for one of the largest market research institutes in Germany. So we run a lot of research on sustainability, especially from the point of view of the consumer, and this is actually the stance I'm going to take for my presentation this afternoon. And I would like to help you understand what consumers actually think and actually perceive to be sustainable. So we ran a variety of studies at our institute. And maybe to get started with my presentation, sure, that's something we've definitely seen, that sustainability has played an increasing role, be it 40%, be it 60%, be it 1 in 2 people. It depends how you define sustainability and orientation towards sustainability, but we've definitely seen that sustainability grows ever more important, and it's no longer just an issue that younger people are looking into or highly educated people are aware of, but it is now become like a household word, and the broader public is interested in sustainability too. Still, the female target groups, the older target groups, still see more relevance for sustainability-related issues. So what's really exciting to see is what actually drives sustainability, especially in the cosmetics industry. And I can show 3 different motives. First of all, the traditional sustainability segment. So those who feel a responsibility for our environment, which motivates their actions. It can be some ideological trigger. People who are highly educated about this issue. People who are very consistent in their actions when deciding what products to buy and which ones not. And quite the contrary, we're seeing another segment here, especially when it comes to cosmetic products. These would be people who are interested in sustainable products because they think it's better for themselves. They think it's healthier. They think it may be something that's beneficial, that raises awareness. So this could also be a result of social pressure. Like, for example, my partner tells me that I should not actually use cosmetic products that are non-sustainable. But this is primarily about my own feeling, my own benefits. It's quite interesting if you put these 2 groups against each other, because it might be quite easy to argue, because better for myself is way more selective when it comes to sustainability. They're not that consistent, and it's more like the group on the left-hand side will call upon them, saying they're naive, they will be called out, you know? Another group that plays a significant role is a younger target group, who place a lot of importance on the image of sustainability or sustainable products. Buzzwords include organics, clean cosmetics, everything in some way related to nature. That plays a significant role here. They're not so much interested in what the background is actually and what it really means with regard like carbon neutral products, etc. They're more interested in the appeal of certain sustainable brands. Here in Germany, the top 2 groups are almost equal in size. The one at the bottom is a little smaller because it's a tendentially younger group. Something that we've seen that during the last 2 years, during the pandemic, the topic of sustainability has grown ever more important, and we've seen quite some progress here. We're now aware that more people would say, okay, I place special importance on sustainability. I like to get more information about sustainability, but at least in parts, we've seen that growth figures in the natural cosmetic sectors reflect that strive for sustainability. So what is the reason for that? Because we've seen a large shift towards online shopping, and with online shopping, people now have way more opportunity to get more information about the products they're buying, what the background information actually is. And the pandemic also was like a time where people learned that I can't just shop all products I want, that they were restricted in their shopping opportunities, and learned that I can do without certain products or should be more aware of what kind of products I buy. So the question is, what contributes to sustainability and a sustainable image of brands? So this brings us to packaging, obviously. So for many consumers, packaging is sort of, how shall I say this, a superfluous part of the product. This is a very rational way of seeing it, because if we left out packaging or changed packaging completely, the product would get way less exciting. But from the point of view of the consumer, packaging is the first step towards making products more sustainable. At the same time, we know that, well, especially when we're talking about formulations, ingredients, there is a lot of concern that something about my beloved product may change. So packaging, from the point of the consumers, is the least risky element when we want to change a product and make it more sustainable. So as you can see up here, motivations vary quite a bit across different industries. Here, for example, when we take household devices versus cosmetics, with household devices, you see that people are more concerned about ingredients, they're more concerned about recyclables. With cosmetic products, people place way more importance on, you can see the importance of the respective factors here on the slide. You can see that packaging plays a way stronger role here compared to domestic products, for example. So, when we try to convey sustainability in packaging to consumers, when we try to communicate that, actually we saw that at the last presentation, towards the end, this is highly complex. This is a very complicated issue to communicate to consumers. And the reason for that is that sustainable packaging is a high-tech topic, actually. So we're talking about cork, no cork, etc. So among experts, it's very difficult to actually have a proper debate on that and to decide on what's the best material to go for. So you can well imagine that it's way more difficult for consumers. And in addition, a lot of companies use marketing claims holding sustainability, saying now more sustainable, now X% sustainable materials, now using a certain percentage of recycled plastic materials, which sort of makes people worry a bit. So are they really serious about that? Can I really trust those kinds of communications? Another issue we should also look into, no, let me skip that. It's not that important. What's very interesting is when it comes to sustainable packaging, people base their decisions on their gut feelings. So I think this is a great chart to illustrate that, because in one of our studies, we asked consumers, how credible do you think different measures are in terms of sustainable cosmetics? You could say, well, top of the list is information about recyclability of the pack, usage of recycled materials, but looking at numbers, well, the numbers are fairly similar. The message that gets across here is all those aspects somehow contribute to the sustainability of a product, but there's not the one criterion that is most important and most relevant to actually make consumers think that a product is sustainable. So this means we always have to look at the overall package. We always have to look at the overall message that we get across. And I think we have a lot of options to simplify that and to find an easy way to communicate that to the consumer. And I would like to share some insights with you on that. Let's get started with something really trivial. Something that's highly relevant for consumers is what kind of packagings are totally superfluous in the first place? What can we do without to begin with? That's very easy to communicate. It's very easy to understand. Do I really need a wrapping for? Do I really need a film around vegetables? Do I need a large cardboard box? Is that really necessary? Sure. We have to admit that it's a very rational stance. On an emotional level, a film may actually add to a product's image. However, if we take a pure rational stance at sustainability, this is the first thing that people will mention. That's the top of mind argument. Why can they not do without the wrapping? Do we really need that? That's sort of the first thing that comes to mind. Next, and this is really exciting in my opinion, well, this sort of plays into the image of certain packaging raw materials. Like, jokingly, we might say, as long as it's brown, everything will look totally sustainable. So it doesn't matter where the paper is sourced from, what kind of ingredients you have in the paper, what kind of materials are actually being used. Brown means sustainable. And vice versa. What many consumers, at least in Europe, do think, not just in Germany, but in many countries all across Europe, is plastic materials are bad as such, no matter what. So no matter what you're trying to communicate about recyclability of plastic materials, this is sort of what people think of first. Plastic materials is something people would immediately associate with a society based on consumption, plastics in the ocean, and paper is seen as something natural, something individual, something that's slightly imperfect. So this is an image dimension that we tap into here that plays a significant role. And it will be really, really difficult to counteract that in some way. Earlier, I showed you the three groups. Those that were highly educated, highly aware of environmental aspects. I think it's easier to communicate to this particular group because they have a better understanding of the background, but a lot of people who just base their decisions on gut feelings when it comes to sustainability, it will be really difficult to get that message across. Another thing, and my colleague who held the presentation before me mentioned that too, is seals. We have a vast variety of different seals out in the market, and honestly, when you ask consumers about seals, only very few seals are actually well known. There are three exceptions that play a role when it comes to packaging. FSC, because FSC is something that's also used by the furniture industry. Actually, it's not used that often in the packaging industry, but climate neutral is another seal that is well known among consumers, because this is something that is more top of mind, and the recycling logo, obviously. Honestly, people interpret all kinds of things into those seals. When you ask about the climate neutral seal, people are irritated because it says packaging. So what does it actually mean? So the product is not climate neutral? Is it like a fake seal? So it's really difficult for consumers to understand. And our recommendation is do not rely on seals. Rather, try to get the overall message across that the seal is not the only sign of sustainability. And towards the end of the last presentation, we had a debate here in the room, and that was a message that got across too, is that from the point of view of the consumers, sustainability is a black or white topic. Either a product is sustainable or it is not. which means that this is an extreme communication barrier here for all brands, because what we actually want to do is convey all those little steps involved. Like, for example, this bottle is made of 60% recycled plastic material. This is a message that you can be somewhat proud of, but actually what consumers are thinking is, and what about the remaining 40%? Didn't they want to put any effort into that? Why didn't they do the remaining 40% too? So that's a real challenge here. Or another example I brought for you here is this facial care cream. So what they were trying to do is, what is your impression of sustainability? So there was a hot debate of this advertising tab on top saying, well, if it says climate neutral, why can they not do without this part of the cardboard, like here on top, you know? Why not just do without it? Because you have this little tab up there. So this is the perspective of the consumer. When you get them to actually focus on sustainability, they start being very critical of every tiny detail, which is not always easy. So the question we might be asking ourselves is, what is the solution to all those problems? So for us, our key argument is, first and foremost, sustainability is a matter of storytelling. It's not so much about the specific measures that a brand or a product employs in terms of sustainability. It's more like, how do you get the story across? The story that you build around all those measures. Because after all, what consumers are interested in is the general attitude of a brand towards sustainability. And that's the key question they're asking themselves. Why are they doing that? What is their intention? What are they headed towards? So how serious are they about sustainability? And oftentimes, this is way more important than all the individual measures you can employ and can actually add more to being credible when it comes to sustainability. And this actually is one of the reasons why some niche social media brands are often perceived as being considerably more sustainable than the larger brands in the same segment. Because for those niche brands, it's way easier to tell some special story explaining why they do exactly what they do, you know? For example, Hans and Bille met somewhere at a fjord in Norway, and they say, great, they're so sustainable, they truly think sustainably, they know how to do sustainability. If you have L'Oreal, Beiersdorf, P&G, that's way more difficult to tell exactly the same story, because it's very hard to get that across as a credible message. But nonetheless, from our point of view, it's very important to bring in all the individual factors. It's very important to communicate all those tiny steps, all those tiny efforts you're taking, telling people you're not totally perfect, you want it to be perfect, but still. So what progress have we made? What kind of efforts and measures have we taken in order to optimize the way things are? Last but not least, just very briefly, because that's a question that a lot of people ask me towards the end of such sustainability presentations is, well, fine, but are consumers actually willing to pay for it? Honestly, no. They're not prepared to pay for it if they have the impression that this is just some greenwashing measure, some marketing tool. If they're not sure that this is a serious effort. But seeing as the natural cosmetics market has grown significantly, we have definitely seen that more and more people are willing to pay more and to actually reward brands for fostering sustainability. However, they want to have the impression that they can contribute and that their own consumption actually means progress in the right direction. So just a couple of insights into the way consumers think about sustainability. Are there any questions? You mentioned that earlier during your presentation, that there are two different groups and you need different messages for different groups. So the group that is better educated and the other group who is a little more motivated by lifestyle factors, will they actually question sustainability and sustainability measures, and are different things important for the different groups? Yes, the group at the top left, the group who's highly educated, they are fact-oriented, they do a lot of research, they question the facts, and they have a fairly good understanding. Of course, they're not at an expert level, not always at least, but these are the kinds of people who get out their smartphone, download the Telschow app or whatever when they're out in the store, who check out company websites to see what the ingredients of a product are, and they are really loyal too, because trying to gather information all the time, doing your research on each and every brand all the time is very exhausting, so they like sticking with the products they did their research on in the past. The group on the right-hand side, which is the group, they will say, okay, this is brown cardboard, this should be fine, I'm sure this is going to be good, you know. You need the classic sustainability symbols to get across to them that this is sustainable. And oftentimes, for them, it's more about, well, I have a good feeling about this. The group at the bottom, this is like the peak of storytelling for us. So you really need to do a good job, have a lot of imagery, tell a lot of stories about sustainability. So the product as such hardly plays any role at all. It's more like, where did I find it and who recommended it? So, shoot if you have any questions. If not, I would like to thank you very much for your attention and have a great afternoon at the show.